Hi, I am Paul Chartier, and you're watching Heart of Gold. Thanks for tuning in. One of the powerhouse organizations in Lexington's United Way. Bill Farmer, welcome, and Katie Williams, thank you.
Thanks
you.
for having
Appreciate
us.
It's good to have you. I can't imagine an organization that covers the breadth of nonprofits like you do in terms of who you affect, organizations and volunteers. But this is not to be sexist, your father's or your grandfather's United Way. How is it different, and what's going on today with United Way, Bill?
Sure. Well, I'm glad you allowed us to come over and visit with you for a few minutes. I think the primary difference between today versus before, if you recall, this United Way has been in this community for nearly a century. And the community, the world has changed in 100 years, and we had to change with it. We were originally designed as primarily a fundraising organization to provide funding to agencies. And the community has asked more from us. And so we're focusing not only on providing funding, but outcomes and metrics and analytics and data. We still are concerned about making sure that we view everyone on an individual basis and that we're passionate about them and we show compassion. But we also have to show performance and make sure that we're actually delivering on change as we've stated that we would.
Some of the challenges in this transformation have been what?
Well, I'll turn it over to Katie, and then I'll follow up on her.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, give me the tough questions.
And then
right?
he's going to correct what you say. This is great.
No. You know, everything Bill said is true, and I think sometimes change is hard for people.
Yeah.
So, you know, because our grandfathers and our grandmothers and our family members who maybe were traditionally giving to United Way through a payroll deduction through workplace giving for many years, you know, I think sometimes change is scary. And so I think people have mostly been very welcoming about the change. And it's just been trying to pull people along with us on the journey so that they know that all these changes really are for the better. We're making sure that when someone gives their dollars to United Way, we are using them as effectively and efficiently as we can. And, you know, we are a lean, mean machine. I mean, we're good with the dollars, making sure they're making an impact.
Well, I think that, to Katie's point, I think we have to take into consideration that we still have baby boomers who relate to United Way, but we also have Generation Xers and Yers and millennials. And I don't want to talk specifically about any particular group, but they have different needs and they have different wants. And so trying to balance the needs of those who have been with the United Way for some time with those who are new to the marketplace, new to the workplace, and meeting their needs and expectations, which is why we created what we now call the BBG, the Big Bold Goal. And that is to move 10,000 more families to self-sufficiency by 2020.
How do you do that?
Well, we work on it every single day, and there are specific programs and initiatives that we have. So the four things that are part of the concept of the BBG is, first of all, we have to take care of basic needs. If a person is hungry or homeless, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to take care of that. The second is financial stability. We need to make sure that families are financially stable, that often people get themselves into trouble by making a set of decisions that have a long-term negative effect. And then the third, so that will take care of the short-term and intermediate term. And then long-term, there has to be a greater focus on education. That in order to extricate people out of long-term poverty, it has to be that they can go to work and make a family sustainable wage. And so two of our goals is that every school by 2020 in our 11 school districts that we service should be rated proficient or distinguished, and that by 2020, 90% of all seniors graduating from high school have to graduate college or career ready. And that, quite frankly, is a major difference between what we used to do as a United Way versus what we're doing today.
That's a huge paradigm shift from being a giver to now partnering with them and teaching them how to fish. Almost that people could say, well, United Way, they're going to be serving 10,000 less families. And that's good for you.
And that would be a good thing.
And it's good for the community.
Absolutely, that would be a great thing.
Yes.
That would be a good problem to have.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
not a problem at all.
Who are some of your bigger partners in town that you've aligned with to help you on this journey, because you cannot do it alone?
Well, actually, this is a community goal. This is not a United Way goal. And so the traditional partners like Lexmark, University of Kentucky, Toyota, but at this point, we also are working with college students because volunteerism is a major component to this work. I will tell you that since we launched the Big Bold Goal, just last year, there were nearly 15,000 people who volunteered to work in some capacity in reaching that goal. Of those 15,000 people, they dedicated and donated nearly 190,000 hours to this community. That's why we talk about how you can affect change.
That's significant. From your side, what do you see, Katie?
It's interesting, you know, we from a marketing perspective, we always talk about, you know, Bill and I have this sort of internal, I don't want to say struggle because it's friendly,
sure.
but how do you balance and how do you inspire your donors? You know, there's a balance between giving them the outcomes and the data and the
Right.
information, but also really showing them the stories, right? The real people who are being helped from all these programs. In our 9-county service area that United Way covers, we have over 80 agency partners and over 140 funded programs that are helping reach the people who need it most. So, you know, the work is being done with numerous partners, and as Bill mentioned, we're partnering with organizations or you know, moving in partnership with organizations who aren't just companies who provide funding to United Way or run workplace campaigns, but other great organizations in the community who may not even be receiving United Way funding right now. It's you know, creating this common goal that we can all get around, and we're seeing that people are responding to it.
It's like a boulder rolling down the hill, and we're just trying to stay out of the way of it because it really is becoming part of a cultural change. Let me give you a specific example. Transylvania University, 80% of the students at Transylvania University are engaged in volunteering in our community. That's 800
That's very encouraging.
students.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we talk about our future generation, and we look at Transy and we look at the University of Kentucky, we also have the faith community that's very engaged, and senior citizens. Ironically, our oldest volunteer is 95 years old.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter what,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how old you are, or quite frankly, how young you are. I mean, I think our youngest volunteer, Maya, is about, when she started, she was 6 years old. So between 6 and 95, people can find themselves in this project, in this initiative.
You need donors, you need volunteers. Let's put the website that people could go to
Sure.
to plug into more about United
Sure,
Way.
uwbg.org. So there you can find all, you know, information on our partners, our programs, the Big Bold Goal, and the work we're doing. You can also learn about some special events and things we have, and it's just a great way to get plugged in.
Or if they wanted to call Katie, would she give her phone number, Bill, or not?
Of course you can give her a phone number.
Please.
But I think the most important thing is that you can call 211. We have a health and human services hotline. So if you want to reach Katie, if you want to reach me, but more importantly, if you have needs in the community, if you dial a 3-digit number 211, or quite frankly, you could text, and we are able to take that phone call or that text message.
Again, you need money and you need volunteers. Equal challenges, or is one more important than the other?
I mean, as Bill said, there's a cost to everything. And so I think as an organization whose main goal is still to give back to the community, fundraising is our foremost thing. We can't do the work, we can't complete our mission unless we have the dollars to do so. So I think we try to keep that in mind. Our focus is on the work, but we acknowledge, as Bill said, that even volunteerism has a cost to recruit and retain engaged volunteers to provide the training that they need to be successful, you know, to recognize them. So, you know, there's a cost to all good work. So I would say both are equally important.
I agree. In fact, Paul, before we started off camera, we were talking about how great a community Lexington is. And the reason why I use statistics is that data can tell a story just as well as a traditional story. And so let me just tell you a story about Lexington. I mean, Lexington, Kentucky is the 10th smartest place in the country to live. And the reason that is that 41% of the adult residents have at least an associate's degree or above. So we have a tremendous amount of intellectual capital. But we also have 38% of the people who work in Lexington are making less than a livable wage. Our unemployment rate is less than 4%. So really, we're not talking about people who don't want to work. What we're talking about is the working poor and how we as a collective community can help. So I'll use as an example. Let's assume that we have a working mother who is trying to take care of 3 kids, and the child has a parent-teacher conference. We've asked her to work because we want to make sure that she's not on some type of state or federal aid. She can't get off of work to go to the parent-teacher conference. As a community, what are we going to do? That's the question. That's why volunteers are important, because what could conceivably happen is a volunteer could sit in for mom. That's how we give back to the community in ways that we haven't done before.
So you need volunteers.
We do.
You can't quantify or explain right now, define what a volunteer is going to do, but is there a definition of what a volunteer could go through to get to wherever he or she has a passion?
Sure. I mean, I think that's one of the services that we can provide to the community is helping to match individuals to volunteer opportunities through a variety of agencies and programs, through local school systems, through, you know, and I think if someone really doesn't know where to start, I think United Way is a great tool, you know, for someone to call, dial in, and we'll help you.
And dial 211.
Yes.
And I want you to give the website, and in the last 3 minutes, I want to hear a heartfelt story of an example of what United Way has done to impact a child or a family. But give the website again,
Sure.
if you would.
It's uwbg.org.
Okay. Who has a story? I want to hear a great one.
Okay, I will tell you a realistic one.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'll tell you about our 95-year-old
Okay.
Oh, yes.
who's volunteering out in one of our outlying counties. He has been engaged in volunteering. He has 2 students that he has been working with. Because of his age, he has someone drive him to the children's homes. They absolutely love him because they see him as a surrogate grandfather or great-grandfather. And he worked with them for almost a year. And when it was time for the sessions to be over for the summer, they met at a place like Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
And the kids were in tears because they didn't want to see him go. And so he figured out a way, determined a way that he could continue to see them during the summer. This is a 95-year-old who is using a walker, who is doing all that he can to make sure that these kids understand. And one of the things that he would say to them, I want you to know that you're loved, but there are high expectations of you, and and in fact, he says, it is interesting, I just want to live long enough to see you graduate from high school. And so here's a 95-year-old who has seen some of the best and the worst of all of us, and that he is continuing to give to ensure that the best is always there.
Sure. I don't think he expected to feel so impacted, you know, to have the emotional connection to the children that he did.
But look at these 3 worlds that have collided, that they now have a bond that it won't last forever, but the memories will. And, you know, we know kids today, a lot of them are in their own world, and 95-year-old person, they're not old, they're really old.
Right.
Sure.
And to have that connection, I think, is a beautiful story. I think a lot of people out there have talents. People that I know that are retiring don't want to just sit around and do nothing.
Dial 211.
They could get, there we go. They could give and fill their hearts, but like you said, impact the next generation of Lexington and Central Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Bill Farmer, the President and CEO of United Way, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Time flies by in the show. We could have you for an hour. And Katie Williams, the Marketing Director, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks
Keep
for
up the
having
great
us.
work, because for doctors that are working on cancer, they want to put themselves out of business, and it sounds like you're trying to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Let people self-sustain, and maybe someday know United Way. But
by 2020, there will be 10,000
We'll find a new project,
families.
Right? Yeah.
Another project.
Fantastic.
Good. Absolutely.
Katie, Bill, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on. I'm Paul Chartier. We'll be right back with another great guest. Stay tuned.